Welcome back. In this video, I'm going to be going through how some women have that energy, that vibration, that radiance that just comes off them, and you smell it, you feel it when they walk in the room. They have like this joy, this high vibration about them, and I want you to have that too. So these are a few steps I'm going to be giving you, some tips that I do in my own life to elevate that, to really amplify the radiance. Now, it has to do with your feminine energy, but there's also some really practical, like more male, masculine based things in there as well. And they do have to work harmoniously to function best. So why is this important? Why do you even want to elevate your energy? Well, it actually affects us physically on a physiological level. Like they've measured it with the Heart Institution. They've measured if your heart is coherent and you're in a good place, which I'm going to be explaining in more detail soon. But your physical actual frequency that they can measure from you being in harmony in your own body affects those people around you, and they feel it in their body. Okay, so it's that whole co-regulation within your nervous systems. And so we're going to get into like some of the nitty-gritty parts of this. So tune in and there will be some actual steps you can take as well that I'll be giving you. So the reason why this heart coherence that I mentioned is so important is because it enhances our ability to deal with any like changes in our environment, with any adaptation to stress from the outside world. If we're in this good place, we've got this vibration going on, we can adapt and we can maneuver through that with more ease and flow. So for cognitive, social, and physical performance as well, it will be increased, all those three. So imagine being more at ease when you're in social settings, being more switched on when focused when you're doing your work, and also physically feeling better, so you can actually show up to those things physically in your body, which is a huge topic you guys know that I'm talking about, is elevating our energy so we can feel good and we can actually show up and have that sense of well-being throughout our life and not push ourselves to exhaustion. So just some of the science, just stick with me here before we get into the steps that you can do for yourself. The physiological coherence is so the heart coherence brings on a physiological coherence in your whole entire body. And heart coherence just simply means it's like your heart rhythm that you can measure. So the more steady the rhythm is, so the less variation between each heartbeat, that means, the more regulated, the more coherent you are, so the more in sync all the systems in your body will be with that heartbeat. Okay, so that means higher parasympathetic systems at play, and parasympathetic systems are the digestive systems, the what's the word I'm looking for? I did write it here. Oh, regenerative functions within your body. Okay, so because again, just to differentiate the two, when you're in high stress and you're feeling your body has gone into stress mode, the sympathetic system, it switches off all those different functions in the organs and sends all your energy to your limbs and even out of your brain, just to be able to run away from the danger or fight it off physically from our past programming, right? So in case there was like an actual physical threat, we can do that with our bodies. And then parasympathetic, in contrast, is when you're feeling restful, safe, and then you can actually use your whole functions and the organs properly. So that helps you regenerate your energy, helps you regenerate everything, right? So look younger. Hello. So I just wrote a few little details in here as well on my notes. Heart coherence is measured between 0 and 16. So it's the HRV analysis that you can do. You can actually use your phone these days with it. There's a few apps you can go on and you put your finger on the camera and it's able to like measure the pulse of it. When it's incoherent as well, meaning your heart rate isn't very regular the rhythm, which is very subtle, like we're talking milliseconds, then that reflects that your system, your body, is under stress. It's being inefficient in its utilization of its energy. So then, in contrast, if you're incoherent, it's using it efficiently, you're feeling more ease and flow, and all those beautiful things that we want. So how do we do this? Well, they've found that it can happen randomly, right? Like it can be at random times that you're feeling more calm and that coherence is functioning well. But how can we take control of it for ourselves and make it more and more dominant in our lives? Well, you can actively self-generate positive emotions. Okay? So how do we do that? Well, that comes into play again with our nervous system and our masculine and feminine energies as well around that. It's like a big umbrella of it. Because our feminine is more of that emotional side of our body, and the masculine is more of the thinking mind, okay? So there are certain things that you can do to actively generate positive emotions for yourself. Now, these are the tips I'm going to be giving you for you today, okay? Now, one of the first things I'm going to put on the table, step 1, which has helped me immensely lately. I had 2 initials, but I'll get to those soon. And that's being really intentional with your on and off times. So when you're switched on and when you're switched off. So what I mean by this is because our emotions live in our body, okay? So we can't actually, there's a lot of talk around like mind over matter, right? Mind over how you're feeling. And yes, to an extent you can do that, but more and more of us are figuring out and learning through research as well that a lot of these emotions in our bodies are stored. A lot of the emotions are stored in our bodies, sorry. So what we need to do is actually go past the mind, the active mind, and tap into the subconscious and release that stuff. Okay, so there's multiple ways you can do that, especially if you have like certain memories that are filtering out your reality and then bringing on emotions to match that, okay? So to give you an example, like if something happens for intentional on-off sake, like me in motherhood, I want to run a business, I want to keep the house sane, so I feel sane, and I want to be present with my boy. Now those 3 things are key, and I want to have an amazing relationship with my partner too. So there's all these things that are pulling me. And the other day, I felt really torn between all of them. Like I wanted to do them all at once. And it was really mentally draining because I was trying to be present, but then I was also had the business in the back of my head. And I was maybe even tapping into my phone every so often to check like my emails, which was really silly. And that's where this intentional on-off step has really helped me. Like be really intentional. Are you switched on right now? Are you focusing on this? Or are you switching off and just being? Okay? Because this is again the masculine and feminine at play as well. Because when you're on, you're driven, you're going for the goal and you're task orientated. Whereas like once you're off, you're not doing any of that. And the key here is don't mistake off time for like scrolling on the phone or, oh yeah, I'm relaxing. Like I'm on the couch and I'm just numbing my brain out a bit by scrolling, but you're still taking in information. Your brain is still on. And same when you're like reading or when you're maybe listening to a podcast, but you're laying down, you think you're off, but no. Let's just make a really clear definition of off. Nothing's coming in. You're not consuming anything. You are very present in your body. So take a nap. Lie on the bed with nothing in your ears, just breathing. Walk in nature with nothing in your ears, noticing the sounds around you. Things like this, okay? So tuning into the natural world around you, tuning into that. And one of these key things that I've been doing lately to do that really intentionally is at nighttime I have my feminine flow time, okay? So I allow myself to put the phone away. I switch the lights down to like really nice ambient lighting, no fluorescent lights, mostly orange colored lights, maybe even just candles, and really just moving in the body, doing some stretching, maybe doing some dancing, getting outside, looking at the moon, maybe even talking to the universe and the world a little bit, like doing my form of prayers, my thank yous, my gratitude feelings, and just thinking about life, you know, and being very present doing that. So you're not like learning, you're not trying to be productive, you're not trying to squeeze another source of information into your brain, you're not over consuming, okay? You're allowing this space for you to breathe. And this can be throughout the day as well. So I just took a power nap before this because I was just like, too much. Switched off, put the alarm on, you know, nothing else. So be really intentional with that and it will really transform your life. And these things don't have to take long. Like the power nap was maybe 20 minutes. This one did extend a little bit longer this time, but normally it's just 20 minutes. And again, I listened to my body and needed a little bit more sleep. So I just stayed a little bit longer. And noticing what it needs, you know, tuning into that. And one of the other things, like exactly, they don't have to be long and you can intentionally block them into your day. So knowing that my little one's down for a sleep midday, I do a little bit midday. And then at night when he's gone to sleep, I have that block of like, okay, now I can tune into my body, be really present. But also when I'm with him and I'm not trying to multitask 1,000 things, I'm just like, okay, I'm with him now. Let's just have some fun. Like we bounced on the bed for a good 15 minutes earlier this morning, just looking at each other, having a beautiful time, being really present. So be really intentional with on and off times, okay? And phones can be such a killer for this. So really just keep your phone away. Stop trying to multitask things all at once and task switching. It really drains you mentally. Now, step 2 is the internal dialogue. So this is what I mean about, and Alexa's as well talks about with that perfume coming out from you, because the first step was really focusing on allowing you to have those off times and on times. So then you're able to actually regulate your nervous system. You're able to feel like you're in those relaxed states, letting your heart rate be more coherent. Yeah. This second step, internal dialogue, is more about, just being a bit more self-aware of what's going on in here. Because if we're wanting to really actively generate positive emotions, we need to be aware of what's happening. Okay, and I really love journaling for this because sometimes our minds can just go around and round and round and we repeat the thoughts day in, day out. And once they get on paper, you're like, whoa, okay, so I'm thinking this. And I don't always get to it, I'm going to be honest, but I have a morning routine of journaling and an evening one that I like to do. And they're both based around just allowing myself to say things how I feel, what's happening in this moment, like literally just writing it out. And then being super compassionate with how you're talking about yourself, okay? Like catch yourself when you're degrading yourself, when you're maybe being doubtful, when you're being critical of yourself for not doing something or doing something, like whatever it is. Really catching yourself in those moments and going, hang on, because you can't hate yourself into being a better person, guys. It's just not the path, okay? Now, one of the ones that I'll give you, the morning one, so I'll write maybe like things that are going really well, like things that I'm struggling with, just being really honest with whatever I'm thinking and feeling. And then I'll also really tap into acknowledging and recognizing myself. So this is part of that really healthy self-talk. And acknowledging and recognizing myself for what I've done well, for wins I've had, for synchronicities I've noticed, you know, things like that in my life. And it really, really helps, guys. Like I've been through some harder times lately and it really just pulls me out of that because you can get into whirlwinds of thoughts And it can just go on, and you can get super critical, maybe feel resentful near the end of it. This, putting it on paper, is so powerful. And then my third tip, imagination. Oh, because our nervous system, again, so our subconscious cannot tell the difference between real and imaginary experiences. Like, this is wild. And this is part of like an element of why a lot of experiences that we actually experience in our lives can be perceived so differently from two different people, even if they've been experiencing the same thing, because of our imagination. Like, one person takes in some of the information of like the noises, the sounds, the visuals of this presentation, whatever you're watching, and then they have their own memories to match it with. And so they remember different keys and parts of it, and then they create this whole like meaning around it and this imagination and this story around what they've just seen. Okay? So the thing here is to use it for your advantage, is to think of the best case scenarios versus the worst case scenarios. Because this is what our imagination likes to do, right? We play out all these like what ifs and pathways of like our future and what could happen. Or like, what if I did this and this past thing was a bit different? There's all these things that we imagine in our minds, like visually or even just conceptually. Some people apparently can't see visually in their minds. I'm definitely one of those that can. So you could even imagine it like play out like a movie kind of thing in your mind. And this is like a mental and emotional rehearsal, okay? Because this is a technique that high performers use of all areas, in corporate, in sports, in entertainment. Because when we become more familiar with the outcome that we're actually desiring, our body will see that. It will take all the turns towards that more easily. It will, so the part of the brain, the amygdala, which actually is like the filter of this emotional system, it will see, I'm trying to think of an example for you because it's probably easiest to see that way. So let's say I have a memory, because we've been talking about as well healing masculine energies. So let's say I have a memory of, let's say a memory of like someone bullying me in school. They said nasty things, and it was a boy, and I took them personally because it was like heartfelt, and I'm like, okay, ouch. Like, I thought, I don't know, like I was subconscious about my nose back then. Let's just take that for an example. So if someone commented on my nose, like the size of it, I thought it was large, then I'd be like, oh, sad about it, you know? And then later on in the track, and I'm giving you this small example because it's just easier to like think of. Later on down the track, if there's ever any like scenarios, let's say I'm about to perform on stage and my hair gets all pulled back for the performance for dance, and then suddenly I'm like all subconscious about my nose because I've been told that it's big back then and it's like a thing. And then if anyone mentions anything about a nose later, my amygdala picks up on it because it's like, oh, that's relevant to that memory. And so I'm like connecting the dots there, which is like so bizarre. And so that becomes my reality currently, that someone said something about a nose and it must have been about my nose. And then like, do you see what's happening here? So then that can happen with anything. So then even with bigger cases and scenarios of like maybe someone commenting about your ability to do something, maybe someone saying about your character, something that you like, maybe you're arrogant, or you know, they've said something about that. But not even people's comments, like even just things that have happened in your life, because it's stored in the body, it's in the back of the mind, and it matches up those things because it has so much information that comes in at all times. It filters it out to the things that it can reference and it already understands because there's memories built around that. So this is key, because now if you're wanting to change your reality and you're wanting to like myself, for example, build a successful business, and I haven't done that yet in the past. I've had like a successful career in jobs. I need to imagine that working out for me, because then I'll see it and then it'll match it to those memories in the back of like, oh yeah, I can do this. Oh yeah, I can do that. And I'll take the steps with more ease towards it. Because if I don't do that and it seems too unfamiliar, it seems too scary, no, I can't do that, you know? My body will reject it. Even though mentally I'm like, yes, I want to do this, my body's like, no, it's too unfamiliar, it's too scary. Because our subconscious mind and like they work together, it wants to repel anything that's unfamiliar, okay? So this is why this mental rehearsal of what you actually want happening is so, so powerful. And they've even done studies on this of like muscle memory. So people that like, there was one about bicep curls and then one on like practicing the piano, a certain song on the piano. And there was 3 groups, right? So there was one that actually physically did the exercise or the piano playing every day for a little bit. And the other group only imagined it. So they didn't physically practice. And then the other group didn't do any rehearsal at all. Okay, no mental or physical rehearsal. And I don't want to bunk this, but I'm pretty certain. So they found that it was very similar or even more performance increase in the group that was doing the mental rehearsal than the one that did just the physical. Like mind-blowing. You need to like physically and mentally rehearse what it is you want. Oh. And this as well, this is like one of my favorite emotions, winding it all back to that, what you're releasing out with your heart coherence and generating positive emotions, because doing these kind of practices, it creates anticipation. So like if you sit down for a few moments and you imagine the best case scenario, what you actually want it to occur and how that would feel in your body as well, really embody it, what kind of smells and sounds would be around you, what sort of, and this is one of the journaling exercises I do too. I actually think of all those like physical things and what it would feel like. I write it all out like that. And more of that in my program, okay, if you want to get deeper. I have a program called The Feminine Advantage, and we really dig into this stuff to get your body on board with your dreams, okay, and to feel more delicious and juicy. So yeah, this will enhance your anticipation. And anticipation is one of the coolest emotions because it's like excitement, you're unknown, but you're also like just leaning in. Yeah, it's not like the anxious, oh no, it's like anticipation, you're excited, you can't wait. And it's like one of the key things to being an entrepreneur, because we never really know what it's gonna look like and turn out like, but we're in for it, we're in for the ride, okay? And we're adaptable because we know how to self-regulate, we know how to do these practices to keep us up in the game. Now, to round off as well, if you guys have any questions, please comment them below or hit reply to the email I'll send out. But just to round up this whole like the radiance, because all of this internal work, the internal dialogue, the imagination, mental rehearsal, and the intentional on and off switch for yourself will help you elevate your energy entirely. I mentioned how it's like a perfume. There was another speaker I heard that she said it was like the sparkly bits, because especially with that internal dialogue, if you're thinking something about someone and then you're kind of just like smiling and being kind to them, they can tell from your facial expression and all the other things that are going on that aren't in line with the comment you just said. They can feel that, okay? Especially if they're in tune with it. Like some people might just turn a blind eye to it and then decide to take in what you actually said, not what you actually bodily meant. But most of us can pick up on the energy of like, oh, why does that comment not land right? I don't think she's thinking that about me. I don't think she's actually being kind. This feels a bit off, you know? It's the sparkly bits. People can sense them. So all of this work that you're doing internally will help you align your body with your actions and your output, and it'll just radiate more naturally, right? You'll stop you'll stop feeling so tense. You'll stop feeling like you're trying so hard and like you're pushing for results, you know? It'll be more of like a, oh yeah, of course this is happening feeling. And that's what I want for you guys, okay? Go out into the world, radiate your beautiful sunshine, and let's do it.